Welcome to Reading the Green, our golf and fantasy sports show. My name is Mike with Jordan and Kyle on Tuesday, April 16th. This is episode 106, the RBC Heritage Preview and Masters Recap. Kyle, I'll start with you. You're coming in on a wonky Wi-Fi connection, sometimes video, sometimes not. Sounded a little bit quiet, but we're going to make it through, buddy.
Just call me technical difficulties tonight. My apologies out there. Hopefully the sound is good. I know we have some people that didn't love the sound of the live pod last week. It was a great feeling in person, great video representation, but we're doing our best. We're doing our best.
We are. And Jordan, I know, you're working through some preseason golf injuries, and I'm just glad to see you all in one piece.
Yeah. Do you like how I didn't tell you guys? I didn't want to worry you guys for the last 2 months that our golf trip would get ruined. But I got the positive MRI news. So I was like, all right, time to share it. Time to share that information. I'll get it figured out. And Kyle, I told Mike that I would do a cortisone shot in my shoulder so I had no pain if it came to that right before we went on the trip.
Of course, as you should, but also I appreciate the dedication because that is 100% the right move.
Yeah.
It's also a golf trip that's 3 months away. So he was concerned 2 months ago, 5 months in advance of a golf trip. So, I mean, your priorities are in order.
We don't get these very often, Mike. We don't get these very often.
No, we don't. Well, guys, I want to spend extra time on the Masters recap. So I want to start with a bit of a story. So first of all, give me your Masters viewing arrangements this weekend. Obviously, it's the best weekend in golf. So Jordan, what did your Masters vantage point look like this weekend?
It started out pretty bad. I had a iPad sitting next to my computer trying to watch on a tiny thing while on calls all day, Thursday and Friday. And then Friday at like noon, I was like, none of my other calls would be on video. So I went down to my theater space and turned on the Masters app and had four view in the theater and sat there for the next 4.5 hours. So that was the improvement that I needed on my Friday afternoon. I even got myself a beer at like 2:00.
He said it was pretty bad.
It was the first day and a half was bad. The first day and a half was bad, and then it got better.
Jordan went from the peaks and valleys there.
Okay.
Mine, work was a little challenging Thursday. Got a little bit of viewing early. Similar to Jordan, by later Friday afternoon, I was pretty locked in. Saw most of Saturday, and I'll wait on Sunday. We'll talk about that together.
Okay. I similar deal. I actually had blocked my calendar for Thursday and Friday because I was trying to burn a little bit of PTO before it reset for me at my company, but that backfired when I had a couple of half-day workshops pop up and big boss meetings, and so I didn't really check out as much as I maybe would have liked. Well, Kyle, what do you got? Sunday, you were texting us a few pictures. Maybe not the ideal setup you wanted in crunch time.
No, I was on a soccer field listening to the Masters broadcast, which
isn't bad.
Well done relative to most golf broadcasts. I will say the commercials get awfully repetitive, and there's a lot of them relative to what I would have expected. At least could keep tab on it, and then the last, I think I watched. I got to a TV when Scotty was on 13. Unfortunately, it was pretty well in hand by that point.
Well, we can talk about that a little bit as we go through some of the storylines. Let me do this. I'm going to pull up the old screen share for the YouTube audience here, and we are going to talk a little wheel of discussion topics for the Masters. So let's spin a few on here. We'll kind of go back and forth and see. This is a bit that we do for majors and other big events throughout the year. But wheel of discussion topics. Kyle, do you want to get us started with double bogeys are the new Eagles. So I don't know. Back nine at Augusta has always been about who's going to make a run on 13, 14, 15, 16. I mean, you can conceivably be 4 under on that stretch. And for whatever reason, did not do the math on this. I just felt like there was a disproportionate number of inexplicable double bogeys on the back nine this year. Thoughts?
For sure. I mean, we saw doubles on 17, 18, in addition to the water-based holes. So there was a lot. I mean, I understand on Friday, given the conditions and how hard the course played. But even with what I think someone called funnel pens on Sunday, we still saw ejections on the back. I don't know if I fully understand the correlation to what caused that on Sunday. I get it on Friday. Any thoughts there?
I don't know. The number of times I looked back and saw like someone hit one in the water on 16, or I mean, obviously we had Ludwig and Colin both going in the water on 11, which, you know, anybody, what's the Ben Hogan quote? If you see me hit the green on 11, then I missed my target. Basically saying like, you should be aiming to miss right and you get up and down for par.
Well,
and so I don't know.
They both were trying to play the draw in and just like way overcooked it. Like, how do you? That's
and I know the wind was tricky at times on the weekend. You had 13 and 15 playing pretty tough, and you saw a number of guys. And I know 13's playing longer the last couple of years. A number of people going the creek on 13, and so I don't know. I don't know the answer. I'm just commenting that there wasn't as much. The drama on the second nine was more about the big scores than it was people racing up the leaderboard. So we'll spin it again here. And Jordan, we'll start with you here. And we're getting a little bit of lag here on the picker wheel. Hang on.
Whoa!
Come on.
Super spin. So
yeah. Jordan, did you see Homa hit it in the bush on 12?
Bounced into the bush, right?
You know, you see people the whole week hit balls up there. They roll back down. They just got a little easy up and down from the back of the green. But Homa, bad break at the wrong time.
You texted, one of you texted about Bubba. You saw a picture.
I took the picture.
Which this should be about Bubba's bad break, but more about, I was surprised to see the other golfers in the sand trap looking for his ball.
Except
I didn't see this.
Bubba was in his bag. All the other golfers,
yeah, Bubba gave up.
Caddies are looking,
and then they found it up at the top, and he took a drop out of it. Like he had given up, and yet the caddies weren't even like, the caddies were like standing on the green, but the two players that he was playing with and his caddy were in the bunker, looking through the shrubbery, and it was just a funny visual.
So on Max though, like is this just a bad break? Like, yeah, that's the rub of the green. You hit it there, it bounces one way and you make double, bounces the other way, you make par, or is it like Augusta's got to rip that bush out? That's not fair.
I mean, it's a little weird. It's a little weird that bush is that big of a penalty, given that means you hit it over the green, over a bunker behind the green, so you hit a pretty terrible shot. I mean, his bounce.
Well, to be fair, his ball hit like just on the fringe, and it took an enormous hop.
Which is crazy for what, 130. What did he hit? A probably pitching wedge.
150. Yeah.
And it still bounced like it was a driver.
I like how he said his response in the press conference was like, you know, the unscripted answer is, well, that really sucks. The Tour Pro answer is just a bad bounce. You know, he just I love Max so much. It's just like he's just such a great interview. We'll see if we, depending on how the wheel stops here, we'll see if we talk about him a little bit more. Kyle, should Augusta play this tough?
Hell freaking yeah.
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 Play it harder.
Bring it. I hate it. Thursday sucked relative to the rest of the week. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, awesome. Bring it. I want that every time. Fast and firm challenges, guys. You miss in the wrong spot, you're done. That's how it should be.
Yeah.
The score was still -11. it wasn't like it was a U.S. Open.
Yeah.
But how much? I should have looked this up. I would if I had internet access. But how much of the scoring was done on Thursday?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean,
I do think that the harder challenge brings the better golfers up. And I think this one's even more so than the US Open. Okay, US Open, you get you hit it in the rough and you have to hack out. Right here, you're in the rough, you have a perfect lie going towards the green. So it's really about ball striking, chipping, putting, not oops, my ball disappeared into the rough and I can't get it out.
yeah, I like that it played this tough. I think there was a lot of commentary on Twitter of like, hey, we got the U.S. Open, let's see birdies and eagles, but the winning score was still -11. I think the scoring was still good enough. Let's let Augusta be this tough. We don't need DJ -20. How about Wyndham Clark? So first of all, for all the folks that were saved by Wyndham's collapse coming down his second 18 and basically bringing the +6s back into play on the cut line. His comments on the round after Thursday said something along the lines of, "Hey, I basically got to play a live event on the weekend, and I can easily go out and shoot 65 tomorrow." Turns around and shoots what, 77? Thoughts on Wyndham being Wyndham? Or I threw out a couple weeks ago that he might be the new villain of the PGA Tour. You guys told me to back off. Non-factor. Move on.
Move on. He doesn't have a personality enough to care about.
Kyle?
He wasn't the only one that completely ejected towards the end on Friday. I understand it was a hard day, but a little bit of a bitter point that Justin Thomas was even on the 15th tee and missed a flipping cut. He was T15th, I think, at that point in time on a par 5.
Pretty crazy.
Unbelievable.
Mike, I have a picker wheel conversation before you're done.
Okay. All right. We'll do a couple more and we'll get into the actual results from the golf tournament. The vest heard around the world. What did you guys make of Jason Day's vest on Friday?
Any of his clothes. Melbourne makes terrible clothes. Those are awful.
It was ridiculous. But I think some of the statements were a little overplayed. Like, you're both club guys. If you wore that on the course, would you have a letter in your locker, as I saw someone say?
Possibly.
Do you think so?
If I wore my hat backwards, I would. But this would probably be acceptable.
I don't even understand what the rationale was for Augusta to remove it. My assumption was he was advertising another golf tournament.
Too big of an advertisement?
Of what? The Melbourne brand or the tour or the Melbourne Championship that's not even a real golf tournament?
I think it was just ugly. I think they just thought it was too ugly to be seen at their country club.
It was
incredible.
Pretty hideous.
So bad.
Were all of his clothing choices all weekend.
They just make like all the bagginess of all of them. It's so bad.
All right. Well, I've later been told that Melbourne is actually a Los Angeles-based clothing company. I thought it was Australian, and another way to say Melbourne, but I've been corrected. Last topic. This is probably a good spot to end, and then Jordan, I'll kick it to you. The best player plays the best. Do you guys like a Masters where you have historically low odds Scotty Scheffler playing the best golf in the world, who shows up and beats the field by 4 strokes? Like, as a fan, do you like that?
Yeah,
I don't have a problem with it. It's fun. I'm not normally a storybook guy. I think you're a little bit that narrative guy, Mike, than I am typically. But for short stretches, I think it's fun to see Scotty on this level, and especially with the impending change coming in his life, to see if he can continue to keep it up. Don't get me wrong, if we're in the same spot from a year from now and Scotty's won 10 events, then I might have a different answer. But it's where I'm at right now.
All right, we'll leave the rest of the topics on the board. Jordan, what do you got?
I'm sure you guys saw on Zaire today, the post. Could you win if you started on the green on every hole? And I'm going to make the assumption that you are at the furthest point away from the cup.
I saw it differently. I've seen a couple. I've seen if you started at 100 yards.
Oh, you have no chance if you start at 100 yards.
Okay. No, this guy's one Jordan's talking about. He explicitly says the furthest point of the green from the pin.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
On the green, furthest point away. I think the answer is no, because those greens are huge. You might have a better chance than Kyle and I do.
I don't know.
I mean, if Jordan says no, I have no chance.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can't. It's tough to do the math, but you have to be almost guaranteed. It depends on how much. Do I have any practice? I mean, let's assume no. You got 16 par fives where you should make eagle, right? Like you're gonna 3-putt for eagle on 16 par fives.
But how long? Like those
that's 32 under.
Greens, you're putting from 75 feet. You're gonna 3-putt every one of those on concrete.
Maybe at 4-putt but like all I'm saying is if I get myself to 25 to 32 under, and now I can give back 14 strokes to beat Scotty's minus 11. I don't know. That seems the 100 yards and in seems like a more of a debate, but
no chance. Not a debate. There's no chance. Even a scratch golfer is not doing it from 100 yards and in.
Okay, I'm gonna go read the comments. I haven't seen that post. I'm gonna go read the comments.
My take was, and Mike guessed you'd win. Jordan, I think you'd be close, and I wouldn't have a chance.
I just like you see some of those. I mean, it also depends on where the pins are, right? Like on 16, if it's that pin that you just have to get it within like a 10-foot circle and it funnels down to the cup, that's easy. If it's the top right corner and you have to putt uphill 4 feet, and if you don't make it, you're right back at your own feet. Like
the question is whether or not I'm bringing more clubs than a putter, so that when I putt off the green, do I have to then use a putter? Or if I putt into the creek on 13, if I have to then go somehow chip it back over, I think where we might be talking.
I think there would be, for Kyle and I for sure, there would be a surprising amount of 6s and 7s starting on the green, right? Because it's one thing.
By the third day, we'd be better than 6s.
I don't know if we would be. I think from 100 yards, I would have a better chance, because then if you miss the green and you can like chipping, you can have some spin, some control. Kyle, you would be much worse if you had to chip it on.
I'd be dead.
Just
the worst score.
Just putting, I think it would be hard.
Well, I think we might be able to recreate that, not at Augusta, but just in real life at a course you could play. That might be kind of fun. I'm interested to see what would happen. Let me move us along here a little bit. I want to run through just some of the housekeeping stuff on the Masters as pertains to RTG, and then we'll talk about beer, and then we'll get into the RBC Heritage. So obviously at the Masters, we have Scotty Scheffler getting his second green jacket at minus 11, winning by 4 strokes. I mean, he wasn't even the highest ranked in the RTG model. I had him 4th by total share percentage, so the amount of conversation that we have from our expert community. But alas, he was the top power index play, and so therefore should have been a smash across the board. Kyle, I know, I think you said you were all but one lineup with Scotty. As far as the listener league goes, Couch Critic, a new joiner this week, takes down in his first time in the RTG listener league. Couch Critic takes down the top spot, followed by Andy Dinges and P. Koziak 3 in third. The good this week, like I said, can we really take credit saying we had Scotty Scheffler as our top power index plays and that we made 14 of 15 cuts with the rest of our top plays? A lot of people made the cut this week. So I think the model certainly looked really good from a performance standpoint. DFS wise, Kyle, like I felt like things turned out all right. Certainly wasn't retiring based on the Masters this week, but definitely got a lot right.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the cut line made it hard with the late sneak to 6. I think in the long run that did not help me, even though it gave me a couple more 6 for 6s.
I had a lot of 6 to 6s that didn't sniff money.
Yeah. So that it kind of made it tough. I already mentioned the big one that hurt me, JT, was my pivot play. And the unfortunate thing is there, just to get up to a real quick bet on line construction, is I had the right style of build from a Scotty lineup. And I landed in the right spot to click JT. I had a lot of the right guys at the bottom of the board. I had Cam Davis in that lineup, who was a big part of it, as we talked at length about last week. It's just unfortunate that when looking for someone to be my pivot in that range, the JT, the Max Homa, the Colin Morikawa, pick the wrong guy.
You go JT and he goes 7 over his last 7 holes.
The last 4 holes are the last 4 holes of the event. So overall, I think I ended up roughly about even, which
okay.
Yeah, I'll take it.
You mentioned Cam Davis as being a sneaky good play for the RTG model this week. That's because we've been tailing Matt Gannon pretty closely this year, as he's been by far our best follow, and he is new for 2024. So that's been really fun to have that find. Scotty, Siwoo, and Cam Davis. And I think I said on the show last week, he basically is a Cam Davis homer. How is he coming up with this play? And we had no choice but to follow him. And then on Sunday, he's sitting top 5. And I know he stumbled a little bit on the weekend, but certainly like you're playing a 6, I think it was like 6% Cam Davis at $6,900. Definitely paid off.
Under 1% in one of my contests, but that double bogey on 17 on Sunday was painful.
Talking about the double bogeys on holes that don't really warrant double bogeys. That's what I just I know the course is playing tough. I didn't quite understand that. So Gannon does end up, I said, our top contributor of the week. Gutsiest play comes from Coach Esser at The Athletic with Tyrrell Hatton, who, it was funny because there were some comments made about Hatton being the basically sitting at the average winner profile. And I'm sure you saw that, Kyle, of average age, average number of appearances, average world ranking. And there were these jokes going around about how like other athletes like LeBron have actually never played to their average stat line in their career. Mm-hmm. Just kind of a fascinating stats thing. But so Haddon actually does climb his way up the leaderboard later in the event and ends up being our gutsiest play. And so that brings us to one and done. Jordan, we were kind of running through some of the results earlier. There was a healthy amount of people that had Scotty Scheffler still in the bag. Didn't take him at the Arnold Palmer, didn't take him at the Players, cashed in here.
Yep, but still cashed in less than those other events because the people that run the Masters are poor. But yeah, 10 people had Scotty Scheffler, so a lot of money out there. 3.6 million. Dropped down quite a second place this week. We got 695. One guy had Bryson. We did have one Tiger Woods selection that ended up with a little bit of cheddar at the end of the week, $40,000. But as you guys know, and the text message that I sent you first thing yesterday morning was the leaderboard for the year now has a Stogie with a pretty comfortable lead, 2.5 million, followed by yours truly in second place. And I've only even put in a pick on 12 of the 14 contests, and I'm in second place. Like that's, I wanted to give you guys a chance. And that has obviously failed. So now it's just time to crush your hopes and dreams the rest of the season.
Wyndham Clark at the Players. Yeah. Wyndham Clark at the Players was a good move. I mean, if you obviously you save Scotty for whatever reason, but that was certainly a difference maker right there.
Yeah. And that's,
Has
I've
anyone
got
not
my
used
last
Scotty?
four, the last four that I've done are second, seventh, and first, but there's 2 misses in there also.
Has anyone not used Scotty? If you've not used Scotty and you missed the 3 dubs at the big events, ooh, what are you doing?
Well, and everybody knows.
35% of people still have Scotty left.
Interesting. That's unfortunate because for 2 reasons. One, I think if you go back and look at his last 2 seasons, he doesn't do a whole lot come May. And 2, he's about to have a kid. So we can get into this in the RBC preview, but I'd be concerned a little bit if I haven't shot my Scotty shot yet. Last thing I want to comment on the Masters. Jordan, we failed you in the Survivor pool. But fortunately, there was Survivor Reloaded. And looks like I'm going to be the only one participating in that. And so we're going to have a little bit of workshopping going on as the weeks go on here. But Kyle, I was soliciting some advice. I wanted to go mid-pack live. Now, in the new Survivor pool, you have to take 2 players each week that make the cut each week. If you miss one of them, you're out. I wanted to go Reed and Neiman, saving maybe some of my live studs for later majors in the year. But you, I think, wisely corrected to say, look, you got to shoot all your shots early and get cute later when you're trying to navigate the final 10 players in the pool, but don't get eliminated right now picking, Jordan Spieth. So I wanted to go Reed and Neiman. They would have both made the cut. Instead went Rahm and Scotty. Kind of had to sweat Rahm a little bit on Friday before he birdied 16 and 17, 15 and 16, and then 3-putted 17. It was a little dicey.
Neiman might have skin of his teeth as well, though.
Yeah. Do you get money based on finishing position? Is that a tiebreaker in case it lasts till the end, too?
Unclear. The statings didn't have the money updated when I last checked, but it looked like it was going to.
Nice. Well,
So,
you got
anyways,
some money there.
Something to talk about. Quick breather on the golf before we move into the RBC. I'll start with you, Jordan. Do you have a beer?
Yes. Toppling Goliath, Radiant Haze, India Pale. Good.
Yeah.
Been a while since I've had this. A neighbor
They
gave it to
moved
me
that.
for plowing his driveway.
That was one they moved to like their year-long distribution that was previously like a seasonal. So I appreciate that. It's a good alternative to King Sue or Pseudo Sue or one of those. Kyle, anything you want to comment on from your
I have an
remote recording studio?
An exotic beverage choice tonight. It is the crystal clear variety, Aquafina.
Zima. Wow.
What do you have at dinner? Any good beers at dinner? I know Houston is world renowned for their beers.
I had a Yellow Rose, which is the best beer down here.
Which isn't even Lone Tree Brewing. That's not even Houston, I don't think.
No. But it was a Papa's place, not nothing special. Your options.
Okay. All right. Well, I started with a Indeed Mexican Honey Light. I'll comment on that in a second, and currently working my way through a Barrel Theory Chazz Michaels, a single hop Simcoe IPA. It's a good partner to Shooter McGavin. This weekend have a birthday party for a family birthday party for 2 of my kids who have April birthdays. And it will be on Saturday, which is 4/20. And so my wife and I said, hey, we should have a theme party for our kids on Saturday, 4/20. And we decided to have a Cinco de Mayo party, which obviously will be 2 weeks later, but I appropriately titled it to the invitees Cinco de Hayo. And so it will be a Mexican / marijuana themed party as discreetly as possible. Any comments?
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, Mike.
I think I might be
we
onto
should-
something there.
We should caveat that no use will be getting high in this process.
Of course not. It's all for laughs. Of course not. All right, let's talk about the RBC Heritage at Harbor Town in Hilton Head, South Carolina. Last year, Matthew Fitzpatrick won this event over Jordan Spieth in a playoff on the third hole. It gets the signature event treatment this year with no cut. So, first question before we get into the kind of general strategy of what gets it done at Harbor Town, which certainly has been around on tour for a handful of decades, is what do you think about this? You get the no cut event after the Masters. The idea last year when it was an elevated event was, oh man, how's that going to work? Like all these players, are we going to see a big letdown? They get paid off, but now it's no cut. So is it truly just exhibition golf just to give everybody a breather before we get into some normal tour events for a few weeks?
I think my stance on the no cut is well documented at this point. Hate it. Would, especially given the situation, kind of like you're talking about, Mike. I think we need a cut here. So hopefully it's a temporary thing to have this event, especially right after the Masters.
It makes me not want to play DFS this week, honestly, because like it's just going to be so hard to predict like who actually cares.
Well, for $4 million, I think a lot of them will care. But
I do, but I don't think a lot of the top guys who maybe really grind or who are maybe considering jumping to live for $850 million might say,
shut your mouth. Shut your mouth.
You just had to go there.
All right, Kyle. Well, I'll turn it back to you. This is a fun course to preview because you get a renowned architect. You get tons of course history here. So what gets it done at Harbor Town?
Yeah, so Jordan and I, we've talked about this in the past. We actually did not play this course, but we played one of the other ones on the property. So obviously just a great golf area. If you're ever going to take a trip, you have a lot of course options right there, and kind of a community golf element to it. So yeah, I would recommend it. But at Harbor Town specifically, you're playing positional golf. Accuracy off with the driver, but not necessarily just from trying to stay in this fairway standpoint, but really making sure you're on the right side of the fairway, or if you do miss the fairway, even missing it on the correct side as opposed to being in the fairway on the incorrect side. A lot of 125 to 200 yard approaches, small greens, so there will be some around the green play coming into it, but from a approach standpoint, it ranks as high as any course you're really going to find on tour. I think it was fourth out of the 52 courses last year on tour from a strokes gain approach correlating to success standpoint.
Yeah, so Pete Dye, I mean, that's what you get. You get a ball striker's golf course when you're playing with Pete Dye. And I like your point about you can miss the fairway. You don't have to. And that's the tough thing with driving accuracy is that driving accuracy is how often do you hit the fairway. And here, what we more care about is what side of the fairway are we missing on? Because a lot of cases, you'd rather be in the rough as long as you're on the right side of the hole. You get that because you get a lot of these corridors with tall trees that are crowding angles to the green. And so I do like the idea of still playing accurate golfers because I think the idea would be, the better accurate golfers are going to be able to control their tee shots more to get to the right side. But to your point, ball strikers track here. Like we got to find guys that are just really, really strong tee to green. You want to dig into the RTG model then? Because I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we got a handful of guys up there that you would consider to be elite ball strikers.
Yes, we do. Leading the way so far is someone I would consider, a Pete Dye specialist, if you will. A Siwoo Kim, 8,000 salary, 50% mention share, and so far the MPI absolutely loves him. We'll see if that maintains through tomorrow, but at 100 on the MPI at this point. Right behind him is a gentleman that has some good course history here, Cam Davis. He has 2 top 10s and 3 solid finishes the last 3 times out. 42% mention share, a little lower on the MPI, but he is only $7,400. So kind of to be expected with some of those lower price plays. Right with him at 43% mention share, we have Tommy Fleetwood coming off the good finish last week, $9,800. Also very popular on the MPI so far. And then rounding out the bunch at 43% mention share, we have Xander Schauffele, 10,800 this week, 74 on the MPI. Right after them, we have a whole group of guys, 4 so far at 36%. Matt Fitzpatrick, Patrick Cantlay, Russell Henley, and Scotty Too Hottie.
And took you a while to get to Scotty Scheffler there. Where do you want to start? Kyle?
I think I really like Patrick Cantlay this week. I'm a little surprised he's not getting as much love so far. 10-2 from a salary. I think people are trying to gravitate towards Xander there. But this is Cantlay's track if there's ever been one. He has 4 top threes. Never won, but 4 top threes here. Great course history overall. And he didn't play poorly last week. He was pretty good ball striking numbers, just was poor with the putter. So I like Cantlay to start my lineups at 10-2.
Good stuff. Jordan, what about you? Anyone you want to throw out off the bat that you? I got one name. I know you're a big Xander Schauffele and a no cut event guy, but what else you got?
I'm going some Brian Harmon this week. $7,800, accurate, not a big distance guy. Seems like a good fit for him. Crazy to think of him at $7,800. Just like,
well, he paid off at $7,900 at the Players Championship, and then he was like $9,900 at the Valspar. I think he missed the cut.
Yep, he's the underdog. He's a big underdog guy. The other one that I'm going with is EVR. He keeps playing well enough, right? Like for what is he, $6,700? You just want him to make the cut and get 4 rounds worth of points for you at that price. And I think it's fairly safe to say he'll make the cut unless he implodes like Justin Thomas on Kyle's face.
You know why it's fairly safe to say he'll make the cut, Jordan?
Oh yeah, it's no cut.
I don't mind it.
But like, so I think he's got at least one really good round in him, and if not 2. I don't think he's got 4. I don't think he's gonna win it. But yeah, I don't need him to win it at that price.
I don't mind it. He has the ability to show up. I don't mind EVR this week. I want to comment first off the bat on Cam Davis. So Kyle, you mentioned him second in the group at 43% mention share right now, showing bottom 10% of the power index at the moment. He was a diamond in the rough last week. He's only inching up to $7,400 in another strong field. But here's the thing. I said this last week, and I didn't really do my homework on it. But let me ask you this question. Cameron Davis has had this reputation of being extremely long and extremely inaccurate off the tee. He ranked 151st in driving accuracy in 2023. What do you think his accuracy ranking is this year so far in the first 4 months of the PGA Tour?
I have no clue, but I think the reason people like him here, he's kind of in like Gary Woodland mode. If they see if he can take less than driver.
So he's total shit, is what you're saying.
He's 22nd on tour this year, 151st last year, 22nd this year. I mean, you can go into Data Golf and you can look at his driving stats. This year, he has been above average in accuracy, middle of the pack on distance. If you go into last year, he is consistently below average on accuracy and consistently well above average on distance. So I haven't seen this written about, but clearly something has changed in his game. And Kyle, it's a good question of like, is he going Gary Woodland mode of just saying, I'm going to go less than driver and be a little smarter off the tee? and that doesn't necessarily show up in the stats in terms of what club is being taken. But he gained 130 spots in driving accuracy over the last 2 seasons. So something has changed, and he all of a sudden is playable on golf courses that require off the tee strength.
Yeah, I wish I had the internet's actually working for me on my end where I could do a full deep dive on this. But that's my theory. Especially some of the courses he's shown abilities to pop in the past. Here, he has good course history. It's maybe the courses that make you leave the driver in the bag, and then he just decided to roll that out at a wider scale this year.
Sure.
I'm curious.
Maybe he just took an inch or two off his driver, started to hit it like a 3-wood. I saw one of the big guys is Homa. Someone this week is playing with the new Callaway Mini driver. Again, poor research on my part, but one of the big guys is changing their driver this week to be one of the mini ones, right? A little shorter, basically like a big 3-wood, so they can hit more fairways, right? Like maybe he did that.
I don't know. There's a bit of research there. I'll throw in Tommy Fleetwood. I know our model's liking him this week. He's got 3 top 10s in his last 5 events. We know he's an elite ball striker. We know he's extremely accurate off the tee. He does have 3 top 25s at Harbortown. I think he's got a lot of upside this week, as well as Kyle. You mentioned Siwoo Kim. So you're looking at Siwoo at 8,000, Tommy at 9,800. I'm probably looking at, if the power index holds with keeping those guys at 90 plus in our model, I'm probably pairing them up in quite a few. And then, I mentioned Xander. He's the no-cut king. He's been playing excellent for the last 2 years. The only trouble is, if you have any interest in playing Scotty this week, then you probably aren't playing Xander, just given that Scotty's price continues to creep up. Unless I could convince you to follow our guy, Matt Gannon, and play something called, am I stepping on your touchdown call, Kyle?
We all had it. We all had it.
Okay, tell me who you're playing this week then.
Chandler Phillips?
Chandler Phillips? Exactly my question. Is he in through the swing 10, the swing 5 or whatever? Like, he's got a 3rd at Valspar and he had one other decent finish, but how are we getting Chandler Phillips in this field?
Have you seen his mustache? That's how. This guy gives mustache rides for free at every tournament.
The only thing that I can say is that he has the ability to have a double digit week on approach, and so at $6,000, given the upside of a guy that has the potential to gain 11 strokes on approach in an event where he gets to play 4 rounds at $6,000, sure, top 20 is probably good enough to pay that off.
I'm clicking Chandler Phillips with you. We got to trust Matt Gannon after the Cam Davis call last week. All in there, Mike. One other one down board a little bit I'm keeping my eye on so far that the MPI is signaling could be a value would be JTP. It sounds like it could be a JTP course. He's 59 in the MPI so far, 15% mention share is only $7,600. Spencer over at Road of Ballers on him. He has some good course history here, so Joe nicely wrote him up in his course for horse article. So I'll see where JTP tracks over the next 24 hours.
All right. Good stuff. Jordan, any final plays this week? I mean, you're going all the way down to EVR and Chandler Phillips. You might be able to play Scotty and Xander.
I'm gonna win it. I'm not betting Scotty. Scotty doesn't give.
Well, let's finish it off on this. Scotty doesn't give a crap about this. Jordan, you're off. Scotty, Kyle, are you on or off?
I don't know if I've decided yet. I'm playing Cantlay. I think you highlighted it. It's like, are you going to play Xander? I don't think I have interest in the other guys over 10, right? So if I'm want to get a little different and get a discount on Scotty, maybe that's the way to go. I'm not 100% certain. Sorry, team.
Projecting projecting ownership on Scotty Scheffler at 12%, $13,300. Incredible amount of leverage if you think he's actually going to win this week. I think the point is that eventually he's just got to want to take a little bit of a break, right?
Yes.
Are you making the click?
I might at 12%. I might right, like, because when he wins and you didn't play him at 12%, you're gonna say, oh my God, how did I not play Scotty Scheffler at 12%? But I haven't actually built any lineups yet, so I don't know. At 13-3, we haven't seen that. 13-3 and no 5K range, like it might look kind of ugly the rest of the lineup.
Here's an example one real quick. You go Chandler Phillips, Taylor Moore, Scotty, Brian Harmon, Si Woo, and Cam Davis, for example. So you're going 13, 8,000, 7, 7, 6, 6.
Yeah. I don't know. There's so much talent in this field that, like, it's tough to think that 2 or 3 of those other guys are finishing, top 7. But we'll see. If I could, I'd love to move on and get to name game here before we wrap things up. I know we're running a little long, but last week, Kyle, I want to thank you for holding off the listeners. You take Tyrrell Hatton, the Flowering Crabapple, has a decent weekend. Jordan struggling in name game this year.
Hey, I win in the one that matters, which is one and done. You guys can win all of this fake competition all day long. I'll take all your money in one and done. Thank you very much.
Who actually? So, yeah, we're kind of pulling things together on the fly. So, Jordan, my understanding is you put the game together this week to help Kyle out a little bit. Okay, Now you also get to pick first, which we got to do something to help you get a W here. So, tell us what you got.
Well, so I'm shooting 75% in this name game because there aren't enough people whose names start with R, first or last, to accomplish this. So it's the RBC Heritage. So our name game is the RBC name game. We've got 4 teams. We've got Ricky Fowler, Ben On, Cameron Young. We have Rory, Brendan Todd, and Chandler Phillips. Hot pick this week, guys. I don't know if you know that or not. We have Russell Henley, Brian Harmon, and Chris Kirk. And then sadly, we didn't even have 5 Bs, so I couldn't do BBC to end it. So we've got BCC. We have Bryce Garnett, Cameron Davis, and Colin Morikawa. So there were not 4 people that had R as a first name or R as a last name. So this is what we get. And all the salaries between 23.4 and 24.3. Mike really liked my BBC comment, which isn't a surprise. Kyle's just
I love the British Broadcasting Company. That's all I can say.
Exactly.
I bet I know who Jordan's taking first.
Is this what you would have picked, Kyle? Is this you like? Do you approve as the de facto name game owner, RBC?
I thank you for doing the heavy lifting, Jordan. I appreciate it. It's appropriately themed. Good work.
Yeah, and we've got
fire away, Jordan.
2 of the 4 are 3 people that are all competitive. The other 2 are 2 good players and 1 really shitty player. I've been debating between team 1 and team 3 actually, but I'm gonna go team 3. I'm gonna go Russell Henley, Brian Harmon, and Chris Kirk. I need quantity. I need quantity in making the cut over quality.
I think again, Jordan talking about making cuts in a no-cut event.
It's true. Damn it.
And we all would have guessed you would have taken team 3.
I love me some Brian Harmon. We got some Chris Kirk love already, so I'm in.
Man, this is tough. I think I want to lean team 4, just given the momentum that Cameron Davis and Colin Morikawa have coming off of last week. but I'm gonna jump on the Chandler Phillips bandwagon here and let Rory do his thing. So give me Rory, Chandler Phillips, and Brendan Todd.
You guys got to pick for the listeners, so that way I don't pick who I get.
Team one.
I mean, I was gonna say team one. The fans love Ricky Fowler. The listeners gotta love him too. And Kyle loves a good Bryce Garnett BBC.
I'm okay with my BCC. Colin Morikawa. I'm not a big Colin Morikawa guy this week at $10,000, but what can you do?
Fortunately, it doesn't matter here, but maybe to round things out, Kyle, are you gonna? I mean, if you got to bet though if you got to take some outrights on the RBC, is there maybe someone that's enticing you at the top of the board that you're not going to play in DFS?
I think we hit on most of these guys this week. It also seems like a community bet. You know how I love to win my community bets, but Patrick Cantlay, 20-1. I mentioned the 4 top threes here, going 3 units on Mr. Cantlay. It sure feels like a week he can get it done. Great course history here, as we've talked about. Maybe some of the other guys aren't fully invested, so I'm going to participate in that. Next, guess who? Cameron Davis, 70-1, 1 unit there as well. We mentioned the 2 top 10s. And then from there, I went with a couple guys that showed some abilities to pop with irons last week. Tom Kim at 75 after his round on Sunday. I just thought that was a great number. Why not? And then Keegan Bradley at 90-1. So Tom Kim and Keegan Bradley were both top 7 in strokes gained approach last week. And Tom Kim actually had the strokes gained round of the week relative to the field with his blitz on Sunday. That also might have cost us some money.
I do not want to do a Masters Calcutta postmortem at this point in the show, but
yeah, we won't ever do it, Mike.
Exactly.
Before you close it, Mike, Kyle, how far do the Timberwolves go in the playoffs?
Second round.
I think their first round matchup is harder than their second round matchup, if I'm not gonna lie.
Is it Phoenix?
Right?
Yeah. They just they're all guards. Rudy isn't as big of a factor. I'm worried about the first round.
Oh yeah. I'd be worried. It's Minnesota sports.
The Minnesota answer is first round, right? So
yeah.
But if they get past the first round, everyone's going to be like, "We're going to the conference finals." Yeah. So that's why I just went second.
Nice.
Love it. Well, we'll wrap up the RBC preview here. You can find our content on our YouTube channel, Reading the Green, as well as any major podcast platform. Our episodes are out every Wednesday morning to preview each event. And of course, you can find us and reach out to us on Twitter at RTG Podcast DFS. We'll be back in a week with the results of the RTG Heritage and preview the Zurich Classic of New Orleans.
You mean the RBC Heritage? Because you said RTG Heritage.
Good correction.
No, we're sponsoring.
And it's a no-cut event, Mike. I don't know if you knew that or not.
I did. See ya.